A warm welcome to everyone tuning in for Tree Talk episode 225 in association with Noel's Menswear. I'm Jack Neville and delighted to be joined by Matt O'Callaghan. We'll have a very special guest coming out of us in just a couple of moments. A huge show to get through, plenty of hurling, ladies football, camogie and football to run through over the course of an hour. So stay tuned for all that and more.
The impression the game you get out with what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well, God, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Maurice O'Brien, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
We've a guest to let in a minute, Matt, but before we do get to Maurice O'Brien, how was your return to the Gaelic Grounds the weekend? Obviously, results aside, what was it like just to be back out there?
It was absolutely fantastic, Jack, but the fair was very, very disappointing because I suppose, and we'll be referring to it later in the cast, the hurling game was very, very poor, and like John Kiley, in the post-match, you were there, Jack. He put no tooth in it. That was a very, very poor game. And the football game, it was equally disappointing, and particularly disappointing from a result point of view. But the quality of fare on offer, Jack, was generally poor in the football game. Again, I know we'll be talking at greater length about it later in the cast.
Yeah, they were far from spectacles, but it was good to have you back in the press box. But as I said, we have a special guest. It's Maurice O'Brien is joining us this morning. Maurice obviously has won 2 under-21 All-Ireland medals, coached Limerick to one as well, won a Leinster with Dublin and played for Limerick as well. A really unique career, Maurice, but thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks, Jack, and thanks, Matt. Good to be on with you guys. How are you keeping?
Good.
Good, Jack. Good, Maurice. Very good.
I suppose, Maurice, to be fair, I really first noticed you coming to prominence in the Limerick Chase circles back in 2017 when you had the Limerick 21s, and it's only 6 years ago, but the progression of those lads, you pinch yourself when you see how far they've come. Obviously, they won in All-Ireland, but to see the likes of, you had Sean and Kyle and Keane and Aaron and so many more, just the superstars they've become.
Yeah, look, you could probably see it at the time. It was a phenomenal under-21 team, you know, gifted players. They were all breaking onto the senior team at the time. Some of them were there. Most of them probably were broken on by the following year when they made the breakthrough in 2018. So you could see they were a special team. But they had been a special team since under 14 all the way through. This was the flagship side of the academy structure. Probably unlucky not to win a minor All-Ireland. But look, probably that hurt has seen them good, you know, where you could see the drive at them at under 21 level to right that wrong, you know, and have just continued on in spectacular fashion ever since.
When, I suppose, did you realise that they were that special group, the group that were eventually going to end the 45-year wait for a senior Ireland and then go on and win 3 in a row?
I know at the time involved them at the 21s, when I got up close and seen them in action, you kind of knew they were going to be, I suppose, very close to making that breakthrough. You know, probably didn't see it happening as fast as it did going on to win it the following year, you know, but I suppose you had that feeling that if ever a team was going to make the breakthrough, these were the guys, you know, because they were driven, obviously talented, but like driven in everything they did. Phenomenal bunch of players, you know. And look, if they weren't going to make the breakthrough, where would you turn after that, you know? So no surprise, probably came maybe a year or two earlier than I expected. But look, isn't that a great thing now? It set them up brilliantly.
And did you ever envisage what would happen over the next 6 years? Not only for that group of players, but for Limerick in general.
Sure, look, we hadn't won one in 45 years, and it was 40 before that again. So you couldn't really envisage going on to do what we've done over the last 6 years, you know. But look, isn't it brilliant? Long enough we've seen, I suppose, the big three, probably Kilkenny primarily, you know, dominating hurling. Like, so look, isn't it brilliant to see especially ourselves, driving on and becoming that dominant force. And looking at all the work that's going on now in the academies underage, you see fellas trying to break into the team. Not the easiest team in the world to break into, but isn't it great to see fellas, putting the hand up now and having a go to try and break in there now again.
Yeah, and you had obviously a unique insight into the 15 years previously. You had won a 21s in Ireland, and you won 2, and it was 3 in a row for Limerick. And was there ever a fear that it mightn't just work out for him like it didn't for you? Yeah,
no, just there's always that fear, But again, I suppose the county as a whole probably learned a lot of lessons from our era. The amount of chopping and changing of managers and whatnot. So look, John Kiely being put in situ and given the time, and look, won in All-Ireland his second year, so given the time. But look, again, if that didn't happen, I'd like to think that they'd have stuck with him as well, because he had come up with this group of guys. He'd won an under-21 with him in 15, so you can see with given time, given patience, and look where they are now, and it's, look, you see the structures that are in place there. Like, it's a phenomenal group to work with. Our time, we didn't have that. We had a new manager every year, new brush every year, some guys in, some guys out, and it continued like that for years. So I'd say, the academy structures put together, county board, Joe McKenna probably saw all that happening 10, 15 years previous, and stuck with John Kiely, and we've reaped the rewards of it now.
In a way, you mentioned there, did Limerick have to have that kind of failure, I suppose, for want of a better word, to see the success and realise this has to be, I suppose, nurtured at a young age and bring them all the way through and mind them then when they get to the senior level?
I don't think you have to see it, It was a lot of failure over a sustained period of time, while being a top tier county for all that time, not to make the breakthrough for 45 years. I don't see ever envisage that happening again. Hopefully, with the structures that are in place today, that we'd remain, obviously at the level of success currently. How long is that sustainable? It's not possible long term. But look, to be in that top 2, 3, 4 all the time should be the goal going forward.
And I suppose they're at a very good age, the team that you had, and there's players constantly coming through that. When you do have that group, that you don't need that many coming through every year, only 1 or 2 that will boost, and we see that now. How important is it to keep those 1 or 2 coming through every year?
It's hugely important to keep them coming through, and you're probably seeing now what happened in Kilkenny for years, that you probably don't break onto the senior team until you're 22, 23, and you'd have seen great Kilkenny minors, 21s, that probably we didn't see them for a couple of years, and they broke through at that age, so now is the age where maybe the Limerick underage players have that couple of years in with the senior panel, strength and conditioning behind them before, like they're not thrown into the deep end straight away. Look, Cathal O'Neill, probably a prime example of that, has seen game time, over the last couple of years. Probably a huge season for him now, out of underage ranks. Hopefully his injury troubles from earlier in the year behind him, and a huge year for the likes of him now. Can you break through at 21 years of age? So look, it's brilliant. If you don't have to force these guys anymore, you can let them develop, give them the chance, and let them develop. And when they're ready, they go then at that stage.
And as a coach, Maurice, if you were coming up against Limerick, we kind of see teams that are trying to match fire with fire. Would you be trying to take on Limerick at their own game, or would you be trying to do something differently? Because it doesn't seem to work whichever way you do it against Limerick at the moment.
Yeah, look, sure. Yeah, it's hard to know. Hopefully I won't have to come up with a plan. No, look, it's how would you go about it? Look, Waterford probably tried to go against them physically the last couple of years and probably had a good go, but again fell short and probably fell apart on them. Then after that, Clare similarly physically had a go. I'm just waiting for a Cork or someone like that to come at them in a different way with a pacey team and go at them with real pace. So I'd be expecting that this year from the likes of a Cork, to test them mobility, young fast forwards around the place. Is that a key to be successful? Who knows? Nobody's really tried that with them yet. Galway again have tried them on the physical stakes as well. So you've seen that hasn't worked for any team yet, and I couldn't see a team physically matching Limerick and going toe to toe with them physically. So is a new team going to come with a fast brand of pace and strength and speed? Who are they going to be? Is it going to be Cork? Is it going to be Tip this year under Cahill? Who's going to come with that game plan to take them down?
Yeah, I'll get onto that game at the weekend in a minute, but I'll let Matt, you can jump in there for a minute.
Yeah, Maurice, I just like to take you back, maybe perhaps to your Dublin career, which was very, very distinguished. And you were part of a Dublin team that played an awful lot of bogeys, winning the league for the first time in what, 73 years, was it, in 2011, and winning a championship in 2014 for the first time in 52 years. Fantastic achievement at the time under Anthony Daly.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic group to be part of, Matt. You know, delighted I got the opportunity with Anthony to be part of it. You know, and I suppose they did a bit of a clear out of the cultures, as they call them up there, when Anthony came in. You know, so he brought in a couple of us then, Niall Corcoran, Ryan Dwyer, and myself. You know, so yeah, privileged to be part of it. A great bunch of guys, special team. You know, probably. So I suppose the success levels have dropped up there since Anthony has left as well. So unfortunately, they're probably back where they were before that. But you know, they were great times, Matt. Special times, and great to be part of it. And you know, probably for me, a second opportunity, a second chance at it. Probably was living in Dublin for a couple of years at the time, and great to get that opportunity when Anthony came on board. You know, and to be part of a special team like that, it was brilliant. It'll be a second chance for me, and delighted to get it.
It's much talked about to this day, Maurice. The All Ireland semi-final of 2013 with Cork. Was it one that got away? Was it one that Dublin left after them?
Look, it was a sliding doors moment for the team. You know, there was probably an All Ireland there to be won. Clare obviously went on and won it afterwards. You know, we had, I suppose, primed ourselves for 5 years. Everything was goal towards winning that Leinster Championship. Truth be told, Matt, it was geared ourselves to that. And if you can win a Leinster Championship, you're beating that Kilkenny team, you know. So an All Ireland is possible then. So yeah, look, it was a great run. 2013, we suffered a lot of painful days against Kilkenny in that 5 years, you know, trying to match them. And Kilkenny probably knowing that we were a coming team and took every opportunity they possibly could to put us back down as they could. So to eventually get over them in a replay that year gave us great confidence and a great opportunity to go on and look, win that Leinster Championship. Obviously, huge confidence boost again. Much point beating Kilkenny if you don't follow it up and win the Leinster final. Yeah, it was a disappointing, you know, end to it really. You know, the sending off. Yeah, sure. Look, we've our strong opinions on that, but look, it is what it is, and it's history now. And sliding doors moment. If it didn't happen, you know, where does that result go? Look, you know, there's no point crying over it. It is what it is, and Clare won the All Ireland, and Cork beat us on the day, and that's it now.
Maurice, it was the first win in 52 years, and the previous win that Dublin had was in 1961, and they were captained by a certain man who made a huge impact in Limerick hurling subsequently, 𝘚𝘱𝘵𝘃 𝘠𝑚𝑔𝑢𝑙𝑚.
Yeah. So no, to be fair, there's a good connection there. I suppose he wasn't the first to be involved with both counties, you know. So yeah, no, it was there's a great connection there really. And I suppose a funny thing, Matt, is at the time I don't think Limerick and Dublin played championship against each other all that often in the 80s, 90s, noughties up to a point, and I think from 09 to 13 possibly played 4 out of the 5 years, which was interesting in its way, you know. But yeah, I know there's a great connection there, and obviously Noel as well, being that and coming down to Limerick post that his playing career. Yeah, so obviously great connection there.
Yeah. Maurice, we're just at sort of winding up the college's career, the colleges for this season now. The Harty Croke Cup and the Fitzgibbon Cups have been just finished. You were very much involved in your career. Was it 2 Harty Cups and 2 Crokes with St. Coleman's?
Yeah, two Harties and 2 Crokes with St. Coleman's. Yeah, so yeah, they were the days. Yeah, so. See, Kieran's are still there, Matt, after winning a Croke Cup again. So look, we beat Croke Cup in my final year, beat Kieran's in the final, and Dennis Ring was always say it is great winning in All Ireland colleges, but beating Kieran's in the final really is the key, you know. And I suppose Kieran's are the standard bearers at colleges hurling, and proven that they're still there to this day, winning another one this weekend just gone.
You had a star-studded outfit as far as I recollect in those days in St. Coleman's, with a strong Limerick connection apart from yourself.
Yeah, sure. Look, obviously the main man up front was Andrew O'Shaughnessy, you know, so you're giving yourself a great chance when you have one of the best forwards in the game inside with number 13 on his back. So yeah, Shocks was a phenomenal schools hurler, you know. Jesus, the scores he was racking up in them games was unbelievable, you know. And from Harty Cups when he was only maybe 15 in his first Harty Cup final, scoring 2, 5 or 6 in the final against Flannans, and was going on then at the same year and scoring something outrageous again in an All-Ireland final, you know. And he really announced himself on the stage in colleges hurling.
Yeah, and you moved on then, just recapping your career, Maurice, you moved on then and picked up, am I right in saying, a Fitzgibbon Cup medal?
Yeah, lucky enough to be part of the LIT Fitzgibbon Cup team. I was there for a good few years. We lost a couple of semi-finals and lost the final, but we were lucky enough to win a final in 2007. We lost the final in the following year, 2008. So look, we had great good times under Davy Fitz there, you know. Sure, there's some of the training we did was probably, I had more fellas asking me about what kind of training you were doing and what kind of hurling you were doing. It was running up horse tracks and all sorts of stuff. I know what you get fellas to do it now, Matt. But look, good times, good teams. Look, we had Owen Kelly there with us for a while from Tip, and when he left, Joe Canning came in. So you had good standard forwards to be hitting the ball up to. So we didn't have to worry too much about placing it in their hands. Just let it up.
Returning back locally, Maurice, a county senior hurling medal with 𝘕𝘰𝘦𝘭𝘴 in 2005, and guiding Glenroe to a county intermediate title in 2019. Yeah,
big gulf in years there, Matt. But I suppose look, 𝘕𝘰𝘦𝘭𝘴 coming up along. I suppose we were knocking on the door for a couple of years, and look, had good underage success, and over a period of time before that, winning a under 21 beating Kilmallock, you know, and that probably gave great confidence, and went up and winning All-Ireland sevens in Dublin the same year, and probably there was a lot of building blocks there. Lost the final against the Han in 2004, you know, heartbreaking one to be honest with you. Niall Moran sticking a free over about 6-7 minutes into injury time. So look, we bottled that, and look, come back the following year. There'd been a lot of years put into that. They were, I suppose, 𝘕𝘰𝘦𝘭𝘴 won the intermediate in '97 or that area, and lost the senior final the following year to Patrickswell. For probably the next 7-8 years, really knocking on the door to try and win that championship. And lucky enough to be part of that. A couple of us broke on from the under 21 team of 2003 to I suppose, bit of freshness into what was already there, and luckily enough to get over the line in 2005. So it was great.
And the victory with Glenroe was as a manager in 2019.
Yeah, so was coaching them, Matt, with Danny Murphy as manager, and look, brilliant. Look, probably moved back down into the area, you know, and living in my home place again, and would be right next to Ballylanders, as you would know. So yeah, look, great to get the opportunity and a call from Danny. I probably finished up with the Limerick under 21s after 18, and Danny put in a call to see would I come on board. It's I'm living there right alongside him, knew all the players, you know, and knew that they were knocking on the door for a good few years, and why not have a go, you know. So look, really enjoyed it, and look, great. We won in our first year. Brilliant. Glenroe's first ever intermediate championship to win, and look, and have been knocking on the door of the Premier Intermediate ever since. You know, we contested 2 semi-finals in the next 2 years as well at Premier Intermediate level, and have really established themselves as a strong Premier Intermediate side, and probably pushing for the next step up, you know. So, and the underage there is going well and everything. So I suppose that's the goal in Glenroe now, is to push on from there.
Final question from me for now, anyway, at least. Have you any notion of retiring? Because I must let the listeners and viewers know that you have been scoring goals for fun with 𝘠𝘱𝘰𝘪𝘮𝘬𝘭𝘴 for the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's a bit of crack, Matt. There's good enjoyment. Yeah. So I'm kind of the variety now. If I don't want the ball in the corners either, I want up in the air there, somewhere close to the square. And the ball's in there, you have a chance of scoring a goal. So yeah. Look, when I was coaching them there, I suppose I was itching to get out in the field a little bit, and look, played with the juniors there the last 3 years. So yeah, look, enjoyable to be part of it.
Never give up. Keep going till you can't go, Maurice. Coming back to the inter-county game, there's obviously a huge game this Saturday with Limerick against Tipperary in the league semi-final. First and foremost, do you think this was a goal for Limerick to reach this stage?
Yeah, I think so. You could even listen to a couple of interviews there. I think just Tom Morrissey that they'd like to have more league medals in their pockets, and I suppose respecting the competition. And I don't know, was it by design last year that probably the results didn't go their way in the league? I wouldn't think it was by design. I'd say just a couple of results didn't go their way. They were a tiny bit behind in their training. I remember seeing them last year early. I was down in Ennis early doors in the Munster League, and they were flying it, and probably a couple of results didn't go their way in early years, and probably a little bit of a kick up the backside as well, So I see this year definitely targeted it. I feel other teams haven't had to go off them as much as well. I feel Galway didn't have a proper cut, and Clare didn't have a cut, and look, Wexford, I don't know, I was very disappointed in that at the weekend as well. There was no edge to the game at all. So I feel probably they will go on and put out a similar team, right? But they have 10 of their team out every day and giving lads a chance in the proper way, which having one newcomer per line, and giving lads a proper opportunity to. You're getting your chance. You have Kieran Barry there, wing back, getting his chance, but he has a Declan Hannon alongside him and a Barry Nash behind him and a Will O'Donoghue or Dara Donovan in front of him. You're getting a real proper opportunity to stake your claim when you have those guys surrounding and helping you through a game. So I feel they're blooding guys in a good way. I feel probably they would push on now and try and win a league if they can. And again, this weekend will be an interesting, probably the first real challenge of the year.
Yeah, you had mentioned about the failure for them games, Ignite, Clare, Galway and Wexford, but from what you've seen at Tip so far, I'd imagine they're going to be going for this and going hard for it.
No, definitely. I think we've seen with Liam Cahill from his Tip underage years to Waterford. That there's no easing off there. Like Liam will go for it. Liam's teams are, I suppose in your face, aggressive, exactly the way I like a team to play. He's bringing that to Tipperary, and I think Tip will come now and see this as a real opportunity for themselves to test these new players he has out there. And he's putting faith in them. They're buying into what he's doing, and I feel this Saturday evening's game, I suppose, probably an interesting game for the year ahead. Does it look Limerick? We know exactly what we're going to get. Probably Tip now. It's a great opportunity for them to test themselves against that. Do they need to go back to the drawing board again and rethink, or is this what we're going with and keep going? Probably a real tester for them. Or I feel Limerick know exactly where they are, know exactly what they're going to perform too. So an interesting game ahead, I think.
Yeah, and regardless of how it goes, two teams going to the final, and obviously two will go back for the provinces. But there's only 3 weeks for the 10 or 11 teams aiming at Munster and Leinster. If you were to call the three getting out of Munster now, who would you be looking towards?
Jeez, that's a tough one now.
I should have warned you, Maurice.
Look, I'm going to mark our own down anyway. It's been one of them.
Yeah.
I feel the other two. I think Clare probably in a good place, right? Even though their league performances don't show it. I think it's Brian Lohan into his third or fourth year. Probably had a real crack last year off of Limerick on 3 occasions. Probably disappointed with how it went for them in All-Ireland semi-final. I feel they'll be there. I think it's going to be outside of that. Then you're looking at your 3 new managers. From my own instance, I think the freshness of a Cork or a Tip will be there. I think it'll be a shootout between Cork and Tip to be honest with you. Depends what Cork go with. Did he go with all the new young lads, or did they keep to the old guard? You know, we don't know that yet from their league performances. I feel they've won a lot underage. I feel if they go with the new guard, go with a fast brand of hurling summertime, I feel it'll be Cork. I feel it'll be a dangerous team as well if they go with that. So at the moment, I'd go Limerick, Clare, Cork. It's a bad day to be saying it now. We're playing Tip this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. You were well able to pick out your three. You've been very generous time, but before you go, just a couple of quick ones. Your most memorable game, either as a player or a coach, one game that sticks out for you?
Most memorable game on the spot. I suppose I go back to my early days, the under-21s with Limerick. Probably the beating Wexford in that final in 01. Probably one of my most memorable games anyway. You know, beat them by a pint on the day, and I was only 17 at the time, completely playing with complete freedom. You know, and probably one of my better days in the Limerick jersey. So yeah, I know, really enjoyable that day, especially. Yeah, definitely.
Favorite venue to play in?
Favorite venue, Croke Park. Really got to play there with most Limerick players, bar the lads that are coming there now at the moment. But yeah, I know, just any day you get to run out in Croke Park is a special day, you know. So, and look, what a place to be playing. And I suppose Limerick players had a fear of it for a lot of years, you know, and that's broken now, thanks be to God.
The best player you've played with?
Best I've played with. Look, I'll stick with the man that I suppose won a lot with underage, Andrew O'Shaughnessy. Kilmallock man, you know. Look, what a great player. What an inside forward to have. Look, got to play with loads of great players: Joe Canning, Owen Kelly in colleges, Conal Keeney, Dennis Sutcliffe in Dublin, obviously the Morans, etc. in Limerick. So great players. But look, Andrew for me is especially a standout player, you know, for his exploits, and I suppose his career getting a bit cut short, you know, in the circumstances they did as well. I feel he went on to do. Probably didn't come at the right time. What would he be like? He was part of today's team, you know. But he was that good. So definitely Andrew.
And the best player you played against?
Best player I played against. This is another good one. I suppose in again early days that there was always that fear coming against Owen Kelly in Tipperary, and he never disappointed. You always knew what you were getting there, and it wasn't going to be an easy day. So I know, yeah. So I remember playing against Limerick minors, 0-0, I think 0-1, that kind of time frame, and just a phenomenal player, and continued it out through his whole career. So yeah, got to mark him a couple of times in Parnell Park, the Dubs. So it was great to get him on a small pitch. So I enjoyed them ones more so than the bigger pitch in the summertime. So yeah, Owen Kelly, Tipperary.
And finally, the best player you've coached?
Best player I've coached. Look, I suppose luckily, in a sense, I have a good lot of them to pick with that one team. So I suppose for a standout moment in coaching, and it wasn't even coaching at the time, they were doing a fitness test early in the year, and the man in question had been straight out of minor up onto the senior panel, and I wouldn't have known him really, wouldn't have stood alongside him before, and I would tend to look at the fitness testing, and he was down doing some exercise anyway down on the ground, and then he stood up, and he was about a foot over me, Kyle Hayes, and I was like, oh my God, this was coming off the production line. And yeah, went down then the following week to see him playing in Mallow for the UL freshers. He's playing wing back or centre back, and I suppose, look, we needed a centre back for our team, and we played him wing back for the first game and straight in centre back after that. And look, what a player, what a career he's had to date, and what's he, 23, 24 years of age. Probably, if he keeps going the way he's going, we'll go down as one of the all-time greats. So yeah, Kyle Hayes is just a phenomenal player.
Yeah, definitely unbelievable. And as you said, you have so many to choose from in all those facets of your career. But a fascinating career, Maurice. And I'm sure it's not over yet. I know you're not coaching at the moment, but I'm sure you'll be lured in, yes, down the line.
I've tougher things now, Jack. I've coaching Glenroe under 7s and under 11s. So that's a harder task now than any Limerick under 21 team, I can tell you.
Yeah, you'll be glad of going back in with the adults. They'll listen a bit easier. But Maurice, you've been so generous with your time and a fascinating career, as we said, and I'm sure we'll have you back in again. You seem to be tipping towards Limerick for down the line, so hopefully we'll have you back later on. And many thanks for coming on again.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Matt. Thanks very much. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, Maurice. Thank you.
No, Matt, another brilliant guest there for us to digest. Really fascinating.
I know Maurice wouldn't disappoint me. He's had such a wonderful career. Like it's been phenomenal. Like if you trace it through colleges, like, and actually, if there's one thing about Maurice there in that interview was his modesty, Jack, because like he was central to so many of those successes. Absolutely. You know, he's had a fantastic career, absolutely, and it's not over yet. You know, he's into coaching now, and of course, you know, he's made his mark in coaching already at inter-county level and at club level, and I have no doubt now he's going to make it at underage level.
Yeah, I suppose we see all these players. We mentioned Kyle there and Cian Lynch, Sharon Gillan, Sean Finn, but you know they have been nurtured by great Limerick people throughout the production line. You know, John got him in 15, but there's even, you know, mentioned Joe McKenna and Shane Fitzgibbon, you know, Maurice, Pat Donnelly. There's so many people that are nurturing Limerick, and as we said, long may that continue.
Absolutely, and in all the wet and rain, I met Pat Donnelly down in Waterford last night. You know, what a fantastic servant to the game. What he's done for Limerick is just simply phenomenal, and the manner in which he's heading up the academy there, you know. Pat Donnelly is one of the real unsung heroes of our county, you know.
Oh, 100%. And we'll move on because we are trying to keep to the hour today. So we'll move quickly into the Fraher Fields. And I wasn't there myself. I watched at home, but you were there. And I just saw your picture that it shouldn't have gone ahead. That seemed to be the case from watching the game.
Look, there is no way that I could adequately state the adverse conditions that confronted Limerick and Waterford in the minor championship last night. I don't know how in the name of God, Jack, that the game got the green light to go ahead. The rain that was falling, and it was pitiful and pathetic to look at the ground staff and they out there trying to push water off the field. And, you know, for every drop they were pushing off, there was about 10 coming down from the sky. You know, it was absolutely, you know, how the game, about 77 or 8 odd minutes of hurling, how there wasn't a serious injury, I don't know.
Thank God,
God
there wasn't.
And thank God there wasn't. And like, it didn't do justice to either side. And, you know, you have to feel for both the two teams, and especially the young lads who have invested, and their coaches who have invested so much time over the last 5 or 6 months in preparing for this day, like, and our evening as it was, and to be confronted with that situation and to be playing in those conditions. Absolutely, Jack. I have never seen the like of the conditions that I saw last night in Fraher Field. You know, it would have been a blessing. It would have been a blessing to everybody if there was a power outage. And the floodlights gone.
Limerick got the win. That's the main thing. And no injuries, obviously. 7-7. There wasn't much hurt.
No, there was no hurling, Jack. Very, very little hurling.
That's no disrespect to whatever the 40 lads took to the field, or Evan Loftus or his Waterford equivalent. You know, they couldn't hurl, but I suppose the way Evan spoke after the game was brilliant, in fairness to him, and they seem to go in the right direction for him. He's a very good track record. So they have Clare next Tuesday at home. Please God, it'll be better conditions, and you'll probably get to see the real Limerick Miners next Tuesday.
You will, and even as poor as the conditions were on the night, like you could see a lot of the good things that Limerick were trying to do, but weren't able to pull them off strictly because of the conditions. And Jack, in the conditions, their handling was quite good. It was noticeably good. So you were just left to wonder. Like, had the conditions been favourable, you know, Now, there is no question about it. And some of the Waterford people in the press box with us were arguing that, well, you know, that a draw would have been a fair result. It would not have been a fair result, Jack. You know, and I'm calling it as I see it, Jack. Look at the wides tally. Limerick had 12 wides to Waterford's 3.
Yeah.
You know, and I think whilst it that went some way to reflecting the level of superiority that Limerick enjoyed. Now, the Waterford goalkeeper in the first 8 minutes made 2 absolutely stunning saves. One of them after 40 seconds from Darren Colopy and the other in the 8th minute from Hugh Flanagan. Had either of those gone in, and they were both before Cathal Hayes' goal, you know, the floodgates were probably opened anyway, but, you know, in hurling parlance, the floodgates would have opened, you know. And Waterford had a guy playing full back, a fella called Dylan Ryan. He stood between him, Jack, and you know, he kept him in the game because he was immense at full back, big strong man from Mount Sion, a player with a future, you know. He stood out on the night, and of course the conditions suited a big strong man that was able to huddle, and he thwarted an awful lot of what Limerick threw at Waterford. But the narrative that a draw would have been a fair result, to me, Jack, is bunkum. You know,
yeah.
Limerick deserved to win.
Yeah, and they did, and we don't have to worry about whether it could have been a draw or the merits of it. Now, Joe Fitz and goals did very well to block a couple of shots, but overall, I do think Limerick deserved to win the game. Yeah. And I think next Tuesday.
Yeah, actually, talking of Joe Fitzgerald now, and I don't want to be cutting across you. He made an absolutely fantastic save in the 20th minute, and Waterford had a head of steam up at that stage in the 20th minute of the second half. And Waterford had a head of steam up at that stage. Had it gone in, it could have, you know, it could have meant nervy times for Limerick, because it would have reduced the margin at that point to a point.
Yeah, well, I think it was key Limerick stayed ahead from start to finish, and I think that's why the main reason you're saying they deserve to win over, because Waterford never led or didn't really after Cathal Hayes' goal. I don't think they ever got within 3 points, or
they got two after half time. They reduced it to 2.
Got within 2, but they never got within that 1 point. So Limerick, you know, held them off. Keeping on that team.
Yeah, well, go on, Jack.
Tonight, as we record, it's 12:30 on Wednesday afternoon. There's no way the Friar Field will be ready for this evening for the 20s.
Oh, I don't expect so, Jack. But I don't expect so.
It should be called by now, though, realistically, shouldn't it?
Well, it should be called, and like, I Jack, I'm totally at a loss, like, to know where does the responsibility lie with these things. Does it lie with the referee, the match officials that are appointed, or does it lie with the officials of the Munster Council? Now, the referee carried out a number of inspections last night, and he seemed to deem that the pitch was playable, like when there was clearly surface water on the pitch. Yeah, so it's just the mechanism for changing these things. I'm asking myself about. I'm just wondering. And last night crystallized that for me, anyways. To, you know, where does the responsibility lie? Where and with whom?
Yeah, it's strange. And there is so many games, and they're obviously keen to get them played. I know that comes into it, but you do want quality games. So you'd hope that if that surface water is still on the field, that it'll be called early and it'll be called before Limerick leave for Dungarvan, because it's a long trip for most of the players, and it would probably allow them to have a training session or something. But you just be hopeful that if the players are making that effort, they get onto the field, both Limerick and Waterford, that they'll have a pitch anyway. Will be the main thing, a pitch they can play in, because last night was pretty much horrendous conditions, and the minors, the under-17s, did very well given the conditions. But you'd hate to see the 20s after resort to that tonight. But we won't dwell on the 20s, Matt, because
before you go, Jack, we were talking with our Waterford counterparts in the press box during and after the game, and they seem to be inclined to believe that if it was moved from the Fraher field, that it would be moved to Carriganore.
Okay.
Which is, I
don't
think
know.
it's part of the WIT complex, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that would be a fine facility. That is where the Fitzgibbon Cup final was on.
Yeah.
Adam English will have fond memories of that place. We went through the team last week, Matt. We might just run through the starting lineup quickly. I'll get it here. I know Josh O'Reilly is in goals. Evan O'Leary is still at cornerback. He's joined by John Fitz and I don't have the
Ronan Lyons.
Ronan Lyons.
Ronan Lyons.
David Fitzgerald, Keane Scully, and Ethan Hurley in the wing-back line. Barry Duff and Adam English are midfield. Fintan Fitz, Patrick Donovan, and John Kirby in the half-forward line. And then up top, you've Con Hayes, Adam Fitzgerald, and Shane O'Brien. Just briefly, we know Shane O'Brien, Adam English, but we've seen him already this year. Anyone outside of that you're looking forward to seeing play?
Well, I was hugely impressed, Jack, with Ronan Lyons during the course of the County Championship and the Munster Championship and the All Ireland Championship last year. He will have benefited considerably from that, and you know he's been through it. He's been a very, very good minor for Limerick as well. I'm looking forward to Keane Scully, who I think is a very, very bright prospect for Limerick. Had an excellent year for Drummond last year. Likewise, I'm looking forward to Ethan Hurley, who developed considerably as a hurler, I think, with Newcastle West in particular over the last 12 months. And of course, I'm looking forward to the centre forward, Patrick O'Donovan.
That's the one I thought you were going for. On Keane Scully and Ethan Hurley, I'd love to see them swap. I'd rather Ethan in that centre and Keane give him more license to go. But Tyrone Mullins obviously is a Munster minor, a Munster under-20 winning manager, so he knows best. Fintan Fitz he's only turned 18 this year at some stage. I know the lads at Mungret are raving about him, and they said he was flying in training. So straight out of minor is a savage achievement, to be in from the start. A clubmate of his, Liam Lynch, is on the bench, come back from injury. And there's a heap of players on that team you're really looking forward to seeing. So on the other side, then you have a certain Patrick Fitzgerald, and we've seen what he can do. So it should be a good game, Matt. Should be a good game, but I would fancy Limerick to get over it, to get off to a winning start, and impose double misery on Waterford in successive evenings. Yeah, but as I said, we're recording it at 12:30. The game is down for 7:00 this evening. Whether it'll go ahead or whether it'll be in the Fraher Fields remains to be seen. But the best of luck to Darren Mullins and his side, and well done to Evan Loftus and his minors for getting the job done on Tuesday evening. Moving into the seniors, Matt. The Wexford game, I don't think there's any point in dwelling on it. John Kiley said that he was unsatisfactory, failed to ignite. I don't think that was on Limerick's part. Just Waterford didn't really seem to come at all. There was a bit of fight at certain stages, but Limerick cruised to victory. Some bright sparks. Kyle Hayes' goal was stereotypical Kyle Hayes from wing back. Aaron Gillan, his goal was right place, right time, but nothing really to take from the Wexford game, Matt. Going into Tip. And
other than to say that, if I were Wexford, I'd be seeing all sorts of red flags and red lights flashing, because Rory O'Connor on his way back, like, is an excellent forward for Wexford. He was deployed as a sweeper, and the statistics are damning, Jack. Of the 6 Wexford forwards that started, they got 1 point from play. 1 point, and that was from Lee Chin. Connor haven't got a point from a free, and the other 3 points were from the wing backs, Ian Cafferty and Jack O'Connor. Like, Jack, they were down a few players, including Matthew Hanlon and what have you, and like they're not in a good place, because they have a very, very difficult opening round to the championship. Going to Salt Hill in the first round of the championship, I don't think there's any county would relish that. And now, I understand that Wexford are going to Portugal next week for 5 days warm weather training and what have you. maybe it might have the desired result. I don't know, but I'm just saying that to highlight the paucity of the challenge that Wexford presented in the Gaelic grounds last Sunday.
Well, they need a lot from that warm weather camp. Right? We spoke to Maurice. I think Limerick will get a good test this weekend against Tipperary. Tipperary are lifting it under Liam Cahill. They'll want to lay down a marker because these sides will obviously meet in round 3 of the Munster Championship, and it's been a while since Limerick or Tipperary beat Limerick in a game that meant something. Obviously, in the round robin in 19 they won, but 2 weeks later Limerick put that behind them with winning the final. So it's really gearing up to be the first properly competitive league game for Limerick this year.
It is, since Cork. Yeah, it is the biggest challenge since Cork in the opening round, and Cork had very good reason to try and beat Limerick in the first round because their record has been very poor against Limerick in recent years. But you're going to see a much stronger Limerick team, I would imagine, out now. John Kiely will be spoiled for choice when he sits down to pick the team. And he'll be in a very happy position, apart, I suppose, from David Reedy, who's still about 2 or 3 weeks out from returning. But the league is terribly important for Liam Cahill, Jack, because Tipperary have been going through a difficult period. They were particularly poor in last year's Munster Championship. I think they failed to win a game last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think then they got a draw.
Yeah. So now they put up a very spirited and pretty performance against Limerick in the Gaelic grounds. Limerick eventually won by 8 points, but it's very, very important for Liam Cahill in his plan. And they're going to come all guns blazing, because it would be a major step for Tipperary were they to qualify for the league final and take the scalp of the All-Ireland champions. It would bode very well for the forthcoming Munster Championship. And we had Maurice O'Brien earlier in the podcast, and Maurice seemed to be excluding him from the 3 that will go forward out of Munster. I wouldn't. Somehow, I think they'll be as you stuck me with that question a couple of weeks ago, and I think they will go through with Limerick and Cork. Now Maurice seems to think that it's going to be Limerick, Cork, and Clare. And it may very well be, but Liam Cahill, this Coach Jack. There's another point here. There is no doubt that Limerick are emerging from a stronger group than Tipperary, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And but look, all Tipperary could do up to now is play what was put in front of them, and they did that, and they did that well. They beat Kilkenny, they beat Waterford, and which was no mean achievement. And I think it's going to be Limerick's biggest challenge, and it's going to be Tipperary's biggest challenge.
Yeah, and it's a perfect primer for both sides. I think Limerick
want to put down a marker, and I hear people saying all this stuff like that. How interested in Limerick are in the league? We had the Morrissey brothers. Was it after the game in Galway? And they put no tooting about how interested or uninterested we were in the league. They said the ambition is to go out and win every game and respect every competition. And I think they were a microcosm of what the thinking probably is in the squad.
And so I as well, Matt, a league semi-final in Limerick Saturday evening. I know Munster on the same evening, but it'll feel like a championship game in the stand. And sometimes that can be infectious. Obviously, against Clare this year, it never got going on the field. But I think Tipperary will bring a fierceness under Liam Cahill. Limerick will be looking to lay down a marker, and I just can't wait for this game. It's going to be an instant classic, I think. And I think Limerick will get over the line, but I think for John Kiely, if they get a performance, that'll be the main thing. They don't need to prove themselves realistically. Tipperary probably do in a way, but it'll gear them up nicely for Waterford on April 23rd. But this Saturday, Limerick versus Tip, Gaelic Crowns, 7:30 under the lights. It's going to be a big one. And in a word, who will come through on the other side, Matt?
Oh, Kilkenny at home, possibly. It depends. You see, both sides have been shorn an awful lot of players due to injury, and like there's going to be a whole list of Cork players possibly out. You're going to have Sean, I don't know who the captain, Patrick Horgan, Seamus Hannity, Declan Dalton. They're all carrying injuries, and we know Robbie Flynn is out. Mark Coleman is out long term, but Pat Ryan has brought through some very, very exciting players from the sides that he guided to two successive All-Ireland under-20 titles. The likes of the Roaches, Cormac O'Brien and Ethan Ben Hayes, Brian Hayes, all these guys. So, I Kilkenny at home, possibly, Jack. I would slightly favour Kilkenny. Now, they beat Waterford last Sunday. They were without more than half of their front line players, the like of Hugh Lawler, Adrian Mullen, Owen Murphy, our friend the goalkeeper, Killian Buckley, Richie Reid. They were all out, but they still beat Waterford on their home patch. So
in a word, Kilkenny.
Just about.
I think Cork will win. I just think they're going well under Pat Ryan, but it'll be interesting to see who comes through. I don't think anyone will be too disappointed if they don't win this weekend, as long as their performance, because they do have a championship game. Bar Cork have that week off as well, so maybe they'll be more keen to get to a league final because they do have that break in the first round.
As we have said before, it's more suitable for Cork to be involved in the concluding stages of the league for the simple reason of that extra week. They have a bye in the first round of the Munster Championship.
It'll be interesting to see which way the league semi-finals go. I suppose for the Limerick Camogie team, this weekend is pretty much a league final in many regards, a relegation final, I suppose. With Offaly, they're currently bottom of the table without a point after another disappointing loss to Down. Offaly do have a point, so a point will do them this weekend. Just hasn't got going for Limerick Camogie so far. You just be hoping that they can turn their season around at this weekend against Offaly.
Yes, Jack. We hope so. Just about 2 minutes before we came on air, Jack, confirmation arrived that it's a double header this weekend in Mick Neville Park, because up to then we didn't know whether it was in the Moon, the Mars, or where the game was on. But they're in Mick Neville Park. The juniors will throw in at 12:30, and the seniors will throw in at 2:30, and the minors will play Meath in Gibbonstown on Sunday, also at 2:30. Those fixtures have been now confirmed. But Jack, it's such an important game, and a small bit ironic, like that for the second year in a row, like that we're playing Offaly to defend our status. But as I said earlier in this cast, Jack, not this particular one, but an edition one or two back, the ramifications are very serious for Limerick. Lose on Sunday or on Saturday, or fail to win on Saturday, because, as you rightly pointed out, a draw is not enough. You drop out of Camogie's top 12 in the league. You're down to Division 2A for next year. And this is a Limerick team that contested the All-Ireland senior quarter-final last year. It's such a fall from grace. And I was just reflecting on it during the week, Jack, and I was saying to myself, my God, if we could only have 2014 back again, when we won All-Ireland, intermediate, minor A, and junior championships.
It's so long ago now, but
I find it hard to take in, and I find it very, very hard to comprehend. But look, I hope it'll all come right for the girls on Saturday.
Yeah.
For both sets of girls. David Deedy has done, tremendous work trying to organise the junior side, trying to put them together. He put together a completely new group, possibly with the exception of the two Shanahans, Valerie and Sarah, who had been there previously. But other than that, it was a whole raft of players that were new to the inter-county scene. They've lost their 3 matches. just like the seniors. So look, it would be a major boost for Limerick, and it would be a millstone gone were they to pick up a couple of wins on Saturday, and I think they're possibly capable of doing it, but it won't be easy, Jack.
They're definitely capable of doing it. As you said, the seniors were in an All-Ireland quarter-final last year, but the minors are going well. In good news, they had a draw against Wexford to go with their first round win, so please God they can continue that this weekend. But we are under time restraints, Matt, so we will go straight into ladies football and a huge weekend. It's been 3 weeks without the ladies football team since they confirmed their place in the last 4 of the league. They have Antrim this Sunday in 𝘕𝘕𝘵 at 2:00. That's live on the Limerick Ladies Gaelic Football Association website for anyone wanting to watch or can't get to Westmeath. But they got the final last year, Matt, came up just short. They'll be definitely eager to get back to that stage at least. But Antrim have been really good this year. They won each of their games against Fermanagh, Carlow and London. They have a plus 64 score difference. They have been flying, but so have Limerick. It's a battle of two heavyweights down there.
Yeah, but just before I talk about the football itself, I just want to show the contrast. I mentioned there a while ago that we learned about the fixtures for the Camogie Association games just before we came on the semi-final in 𝘕𝘕𝘵 since early last week, almost 2 weeks' notice. So look, you'll probably say I'm obsessed with it. You said to me off air as well that I'm obsessed with it, Jack. But look, maladministration, I find it very hard to tolerate, or lack of administration. Yeah, getting back to the football, it's certainly no gimme for Limerick on Sunday. It's going to be a very, very tough game. You must remember that Antrim are All-Ireland champions, All-Ireland junior champions from last year. And as you rightly said, they had a very, very impressive run in their group, and that included a win over Fermanagh, who were last year's All-Ireland junior runners-up. And like Limerick and Antrim met last year in the first round in Bruff. I was at it. And Antrim, they were damn lucky, Jack, to get out of Bruff with a 12 points to 1-7 victory. Like we spawned a lot of opportunities on the day. Now, it didn't impact adversely against Limerick qualifying. It was a group game. We subsequently went on to beat New York, qualified for the semi-final where we lost out. But it's an Antrim team, and from all the information that I can glean and from what I've read, an Antrim team that is absolutely hell-bent on getting up to Division 3 for next year. So, but 𝘕𝘱𝘰𝘕 has put together a very, very exciting Limerick team. There are a number of players from last year who, for various reasons, are not available. But you would have to say that the addition of the like of Debbie Murphy and Karen O'Leary has been huge. You've got the return of Andrea O'Sullivan. You've Cathy Mee, who's carrying on with the great form that she showed again last year. She was an All-Ireland winning captain in 2018. You have the like of and of course we have Iris Kennelly. Iris's CV is growing by the day. We saw her named in the Rising All-Stars during the week. And congratulations to Iris on that. And 4 goals in the last couple of games. I know she's going to be closely marked. And then if you go back to the other side of the field, you have Roisin Ambrose in great form, forming a very good partnership, I think, with Claire O'Mara. Leah Coughlin has bedded in very well at centre-back. In the absence of Alva Quaid, we have Yvonne Lee playing very, very well at full-back. So there are so many positives, and 𝘕𝘱𝘰𝘕 has done a great job in bringing the team this far. And we know what 𝘕𝘱𝘰𝘕's views are with regard to Division 3. Like, as far as he's concerned, it's an absolutely holy grail. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult, but it can be won, Jack.
Yeah, it'll be difficult, but it definitely can be won. And this side have shown they can get to a final. They broke that hoodoo last year, so hopefully they can go one better. But you'd imagine if they can come through Antrim, that they'll see themselves as favourites in the final against either Leitrim or Fermanagh. That's the ladies football team. Obviously, The men's team were relegated at the weekend. They lost by 6 points in the end to Kildare, 3-10-2-7. A late 𝘸𝘵𝘃𝘓𝘮 goal really put the glass on it for Kildare, but they did lead for the majority of the game. It was disappointing. They didn't get going, and when they did, they really showed what they were about. Brilliant goal from James Naughton, a good goal from Cillian Fahey, but just wasn't enough. They had 5 or 6 goal chances, as Mark Fitzgerald alluded to, and just couldn't convert them. And I suppose it was just probably a bit of lack of belief from the year that was that they lost. They had lost 5 or 4 of their first 5 games and lost another one the weekend. They play Clare this Sunday in a dead rubber. Clare are relegated as well, so there really is nothing on the line for the teams. Clare have Cork in the Munster quarter-final. If they come through that, they'll play Limerick, but it's hard to see past Cork on that side of the draw. I know we're limited with time, but briefly, Matt, what was your thoughts after the Kildare loss?
If you just walked in casually to the Gaelic grounds and didn't realise the import of the game on Sunday, I think you would have concluded that it was a relegation scrap.
Yeah.
I thought the game was poor for periods. Again, you'd have to admire how plucky Limerick went about it. In fairness, they left everything on the pitch, I thought, in a bid to save their status, but just came up short. And a 2-goal winning margin absolutely flatters Kildare, because the last goal came with the last kick of the ball at a time when Limerick had everybody committed forward to try and snatch something out of the game. Had they snatched the draw out of the game, it would have kept alive their hopes of staying up. That was the permutation at that stage. But overall, Jack, very, very disappointed to be relegated. Very, very disappointed with the fare on offer. And Limerick would just have to go away now, regroup, and with the Munster Championship coming up, not too far away now, about 4 to 5 weeks, when they will face Cork or Clare in the Munster semi-final.
Yeah, you just hope they can regroup this weekend against Clare. There was some bright sparks, but it was relegation at the end of the day. But I don't know. This weekend it'll be all about the hurlers, the Camogie team looking to stave off relegation, and the ladies footballers looking to get into a final. So it is a busy weekend, Matt. We just have over an hour on the clock.
Before we go, Jack, we had him in here. We had him in here with us last week. Congratulations to 𝘕𝘱𝘕𝘬𝘍𝘍.
You're breaking up there. I'll take over there because you're breaking up. Your sound isn't that good. You're saying well done to 𝘕𝘱𝘕𝘬𝘍𝘍. They beat Lucan CBS in the All-Ireland D senior final schools. Carroll got 11 of their points. It was 221 to 116 in the end. They were down by 5 at the break, but they pulled it out of the fire. We had a coach and team captain on a few weeks ago, and they were presented at halftime in the Gaelic ground. So it was brilliant to see that. So well done to Raquel for getting another All-Ireland for Limerick. Hopefully the first of many for the year to come. But
yeah, Jack, I would like to agree with everything that you've said there about 𝘕𝘱𝘕𝘬𝘍𝘍, but well done to Limerick GAA.
You're gone very crackly on the line there. I don't know, is it just me or will it be heard around? So if there is issues there, I do apologise, but we will call it there because I'm struggling to hear it, honest, Matt. But a huge thank you first and foremost to Maurice O'Brien, very generous with his time, give us over half an hour to start. Real knowledge of the game, obviously coached so many current Limerick players and won a couple of All-Irelands himself and a Leinster Championship and a Limerick Senior Championship. So a very established guest. Best of luck to the hurlers, the Camogie teams and the footballers this weekend. And a huge thank you to Noel's Menswear for their continued sponsorship of Treaty Talk. That's an episode in my books, Matt. So huge thank you to you as always. Anyone listening, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, do all those good things. I'll be back again next week for the latest episode. Thank you.
Impression again, we get out of what you put into. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence, you can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Johnny Buckley. To do that to Tomás O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. The 𝘠𝘱𝘰𝘬𝘭𝘴 𝘔𝘪𝘦, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the 𝘕𝘰𝘦𝘭𝘴 and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes 𝘠𝘰𝘦𝘭𝑴 𝘔𝘪𝘮𝑚𝑦 leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.